start. We are born again. Open your heart. Spend this time in your head.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Fab Four Strikes Again. That's what I've named this one. Month 6. It's like our,
What?
I think it's our 6-month anniversary.
I feel like we should have a half-year birthday cake.
Right? And this one was actually harder to plan. This was the first time that we've had to like put stuff off, and I'm not sure, and we're gonna see. So it took us 6 months to not mesh well.
That's pretty good.
Well, that's pretty good.
It was kind of my fault.
Most of the time it is, but we love you, and that's okay. We fully accept you for who you are.
I feel
Fab Four
the way
now
now.
Fab Four turns into Fab 3.
Uh-oh.
Never.
Well, we joked about kicking Lindsay off the island from the very first
Yeah,
Exactly.
one. So, I mean, it was bound to happen.
it's time. You're right.
It's consistent. It is.
And you do your own thing. You always bucked the trend, and okay, but
Why I love you.
We do love you.
exactly. So, which is really funny because Lindsay picked our topic for today. We were talking on Marco Polo, and Lindsay goes, "Oh my gosh, wait, I have an idea." She goes, "I know what we need to talk about because Janet, and we'd all be able to." So, Lindsay, do me a favor and let us know what your brilliant idea was and what our topic is going to be about today, because we're not doing questions. We're changing things up because I think that this topic is epic.
Well, thanks, Amy. I'd love to share that topic with you today. I feel weird because I'm sitting at a table today instead of sitting in a freeform chair. So, all right. For quite some time now, I have had thoughts in the back of my brain where I have to go in and actively fight against those thoughts. And it's tying back to my self-image of my old self as compared to who I am in reality today. So what we're talking about is body dysmorphia, a distorted view of our own selves, and trying to come to the realization that reality is not trapped in my memory. It's like literally right here in front of me.
She said that, and it was just like, oh my gosh, that's it. Yes, you're absolutely right. Because all of us, how many people go shopping and you buy the same size you've always bought, you get home, you put it on and you go, that doesn't fit at all. What was I thinking? So I think our image that we have in our mind of ourselves is very skewed because we are always our worst critics. We are always hardest on ourselves, and we are the ones that we don't love ourselves the same way that we show love to everybody else. You know, it's like the perfect love is self-sacrificing. How are you self-sacrificing for yourself? That I haven't wrapped my head around that one yet, right? It's a little painful, but this is something that everybody at some point in time in their life can relate to. So I want to ask, we'll start with you, Janet. How about you? Have you ever gone through this?
100% I have gone through that. So I was thinking while Lindsay was talking about the body dysphoria, that I feel that now, but I feel it in the opposite way right now. Because of my regain, I feel like I'm still my size 8, even though I have a regain. I have said I've gone up 2 sizes, but I feel like I still should be fitting in my size 8 because I've been at or near my goal for a couple of years now. When I first started, I definitely felt the opposite. I was buying the extra large t-shirts. I was buying, the extra large yoga pants, whatever I was buying that were definitely too big. And I couldn't believe that I was in a medium. Like there's no way I could be in a medium, right? Up until probably the last 6 months, now I feel the opposite. Like you never feel your true size ever, no matter what. So now it's to the point where I haven't come to terms. well, I have now, but it's really hard for me to come to terms with regain. I feel like I should still be fitting into like my mediums shirts instead of a large, or my size 8 jeans rather than my size 12, etc. And they don't. So it works both ways, I feel. And that's what really plays with the mind, because yeah, before, yeah, I was buying larger sizes, and now it's kind of flipped where it's like, I shouldn't be buying like a large, I should still be fitting into my medium. So I feel like it's always going to be a struggle for me, no matter what. Everybody's different, but I've explained my struggles on my channel and everything in between, mentally mainly. And that's definitely one of the mental struggles that go along with the whole eating disorder, I feel.
I think that you summed that up fantastically.
Yeah.
So thank you. I'm the same way. I actually wear the same size that you do. And I'm like, I used to be an 8, and I tried putting on my 8s like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Didn't work. It did not work. And I was like, oh, I thought maybe, no, really. And same thing, like this is a medium, but I'm like, but it's also a wrap. So it's forgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
funny how that works both ways. Like I said, when I first started and I lost my first 20 pounds, you know, I was still buying the same sizes, and you don't realize that. And now it's the opposite. It's really weird how your mind just play games on you. It's so hard.
It's so true. How about you, Neely?
Yeah, I definitely have experienced, I think, body dysmorphia. But it's a little bit different for me, I think. And I think you guys are somewhat similar in that you didn't lose like 200 pounds or, a huge amount where it was like your body was completely different. Like I was maybe 40 pounds heavier than I am now, which isn't a huge amount. And the other thing about my story is that that was a really long time ago. So I've had a really long time to like get used to my body. And aside from the pregnancy up and down, my size has stayed pretty close to what it is now, within 15 pounds. So I don't know that I've experienced as much. I think what I experience now is feeling like, and this is just a regular body image thing of, I feel like I should be smaller considering how hard and how long I've worked on this,
Yeah.
And so I'm like frustrated. I'm not, I don't have as much of the going in to buy clothes and thinking I need to buy a large. There is some of that, but it's more like, why am I not fitting into that smaller size? Like I've worked hard enough.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of the mental struggle that I go through. It's like, how much harder do I have to work in order to get into a smaller size? But then recognizing that my body is in a really healthy place as far as size goes. Like I'm not way overweight. I don't think my weight is really affecting my overall health. And so it's like, having to deal with that kind of struggle of, why is this so important to me? Like, what am I really wanting here? Is it just cute clothes? Do I feel like I'm going to be more accepted if I'm smaller, or whatever? And then being on YouTube, that adds a whole nother dynamic. It's like you really have to look the part if you're going to say things about diet and have any credibility at all. So anyways, that's kind of where I've been. So I haven't had as much of the ordering clothes in the wrong size. I did have the experience. I've started shopping at Cabela's for clothes. I love their brands that they have. They're just exactly right for my body shape and everything. And I fit perfectly into a size small, like perfectly, as far as tops, not bottoms. And I would still go and grab the mediums because that's what I am in everything else, and then occasionally large depending on how they size. But it's like, it was so hard when I first was doing it. I kept grabbing the mediums. Like there was something in my brain like, you can't take a small to the fitting room, like you just can't do that. That's not what you do. So I have had a little bit like that.
Yeah. Oh no, I love that. There's so much. Lindsay, your turn.
So I'm trying to think. I've always been a top heavy person. Like my shoulders are broad, my hips are not. And so usually it's tops and things that really throw me off. And then I had my breast reduction surgery last summer, and that really, really warped my brain, because I, for so many years, I mean, since I was 14 and I'm 38 now, have been buying very large bras and dealing with that through all of the pregnancies and nursing babies, and having to go through and buy the European sized bras for insane amounts of money. And then finally finding US bras that would fit me and that I could deal with. And then, you know, having to sew my own nursing bras in order to find sizes that would fit me properly and not make me look like I had the 1980s Madonna boobs. That's just not a look I'm into. So having to go through all of that work and dealing with that, and then getting a reduction and recovering from that, trying to wrap my brain around, I don't have to hunt for these bras like this specific way anymore. And that's not my size anymore. So trying to figure out, like, how do I reframe my brain? And because my chest is smaller, I can buy certain types of tops in a smaller size. My shoulders are still broad, so I still have to account for that. But just trying to remember, like, you don't need to buy that many letters after your size anymore is hard.
That's too funny. So I'm the complete opposite of you. I'm the pear shape. Like, I'm fairly narrow here. I've got tiny boobs. I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there. A very small waist. And then everything else is where I held most of my weight. So right now, I'm down 110 pounds from my heaviest. I was down 125 pounds. And so this is where I'm like, Janet, or I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a second. That's not nice. And I think it's important for us to share this, because they assume that we're on the YouTubes and we have to look the part. And we know how to position the camera. We know the best way to do it and the angle at which it should be, and wearing flattering clothes. But there's more to it behind the camera. When the camera is off, we still struggle with these kinds of things. You know, I got bigger, I got smaller, and I haven't adapted to it. And of course, we're always super hard on ourselves. So for me, I was watching, one of my memories came up, and I'm watching this video that I turned into a YouTube video. And it was just like, I want to say, at this point, since I've lost some weight since doing Dr. Boz, about 15 pounds lighter than I am now. I gained like over 25 pounds in 1 year with doing the high protein and trying to do other methods where you just kind of eat until you're stuffed and you can't handle anymore. And it did not go well. So I ended up gaining all that weight, and now I have to get it off. So I think we need to talk about giving ourselves grace and listening to when other people give us compliments, because sometimes people will say something and I'm like, oh yeah, thanks. Yeah, this top makes me look nice. When it's more than that, it's like, no, you really do. Other people see us differently. So what have you experienced with that, Janet?
Yeah, I feel that you perceive yourself differently than how others perceive you. So, for example, like I just mentioned, when I said that I went up 2 pant sizes, and I was like discouraged about that, because of course it's summer. So I've been wearing the biker shorts and things of that nature. Haven't worn my jeans. And when I went down to the US, we went shopping, and the jeans didn't fit in my normal size. And therefore, none of my jeans that I have in my closet fit. And I had to go up 2 sizes. So I was really discouraged, because once again, Neely, you worked so hard to get to that point. And now here I am, I'm buying 2 sizes bigger. And I got really down on myself for that. Whereas others, subscribers, other viewers were like, you're doing great. You look wonderful. You look fantastic. And I'm like, no, I have to give myself a pat on the back because I started at a size 24, size 24 jean. Like, and I would do anything at that point when I started to fit into a size 12. I would have never even thought that I could fit into a size 12 at all, like, and reach 170. Like, I would have never guessed that starting at 240 pounds. So you have to kind of remember how far you came, and not stop and resort back to your old ways. But also, if you have regain, to stop and think, look, this isn't the end of the world. You get back on that horse and you keep on doing what you do, and, eating what you should be eating, not eating what you shouldn't be eating, and carrying on. So I've come to that point to realize, you know what, my 240-pound self, size 24, would be so proud to get into a 12. You know what I mean? So I try lately not to be so hard on myself and just doing what I need to do, and, accepting compliments, right? It's the
And
hardest thing.
when we don't accept someone's compliment, it's like we're telling them you're wrong, which makes you unable to perceive reality.
Yeah.
And that's not true either.
Not
It's
accepting
really
your
just-
self-worth, right?
Yeah.
When you don't accept a compliment, it's like you're not even worthy of that compliment. You know what I mean? And that's something that I don't want to do, right? I love receiving comments, just like I'm sure the three of you do as well, right? So that is one thing that I just kind of keep in mind. And whenever I feel down about it, like I said at the beginning of the year, it affects everything in my life. It affects my eating, my mood, everything. So you just kind of got to keep on going and think of how far you've come. Keep that in mind instead of worrying about the number and the size and everything like that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna switch topics here, and then I'm gonna switch topics again because I have two from what Janet just said. I'm like, oh, I know who I want to talk about. Those people. So
There's a lot. I don't know.
right, Neely, I want to ask you about what Janet just said. Placing our value in what size we wear, or what the scale says, or fill in the blank. I see that a lot. So can you give some words of wisdom, some nuggets, some experience with dealing with that?
Yeah. Okay. So when Janet was talking, I was thinking about how we can't escape our lens. Everyone has a lens that they look at the world and themselves through. And everyone has a lens that they look at you through. So it's like, it's great to get compliments from subscribers, and I love that. But then, especially on YouTube, you're going to get those people also that are just going to pick out any little negative that they can possibly find. And I wish that I had a way to take the lens and just see a crystal clear reality of the situation. And that's impossible, because I'm always going to come with a lens. And whenever someone tells me something, it's going to come with their lens. And so even though it's impossible to really truly do that, and for me, I would say that would be how God sees us. So he sees crystal clear, true reality, no filter, and so as much as I can, try to put my brain in a place where I'm seeing that, that's the goal. That's what I try, what are my preconceived notions? What are my insecurities? And take away all that, and then have as much of reality left as possible. That's what I want. So when I get a negative comment about myself, I can speak truth to that and speak what I know of reality, what I know is true in reality to that, I had someone so angry at me because of the sweater I wore in a video. Like I truly didn't understand it. It was crazy. But it's like I could speak reality to that and say the sweater I choose does not matter. It's like I don't have like that's just a stupid example, and it gets more complicated the more the things that they pick on could be true,
Mhm.
but I speak reality to that. And when it comes to like positive comments and compliments, I have to like pick away my preconceived, notions of or my insecurities and like put my insecurities aside and try to listen like in reality, what is the truth of what they're saying, because it's so easy just to have it, go through the filter and you think, oh, they're just trying to be nice. They're trying to make me feel better, or whatever it is. And it's like trying to get as close to truth as you can is the goal. And that's what I try to keep coming back to.
Yeah. And there is no truth in a number.
Yeah. So that's another thing that I have been thinking about, because it's like there's this movement of whatever you happen to be is beautiful and perfect the way it is. And while I agree with that in like a human worth, from a human worth standpoint, like you are worth something, and your body size or your sicknesses or disabilities, that doesn't affect your inherent worth before God. But there are negative things in the world. There are, people that are born with disfigurements. And, do we look at that and say that that specific disfigurement is beautiful? Or do we accept that there are negative things? So when I look at myself and I say, my weight is higher than it should be. And even, I can talk about myself back when I was 40 pounds heavier and inflamed and, having all kinds of skin rashes all over my body. Do I look at that and I say, that is perfect and beautiful?
Yeah.
I don't have to, because my self-worth is not based on that. If my self-worth was based on my appearance, my number on the scale, it's impossible to accept those things. But as soon as you like take your self-worth off of that and put it where it should be, truthfully in reality, then those things are just things. It's just a bad thing. And bad things are around us all the time. And this is something I'm struggling so hard like with my kids, because I want them, it would be great if we lived in a society where if you just ate the food that was around you and you ate to hunger and you intuitively ate or whatever, that you'd be healthy. But we're in a society where the food is basically garbage. Like the majority of it is so bad. So even if you work real hard to eat intuitively and eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, it's like you still are probably going to end up with unhealth. And so how do you, like with kids, work on them and tell them something negative about their body that needs to be worked on without having it be a self-worth thing? And I don't have an easy answer for that. It has to be their self-worth has to be somewhere else that's so secure and so like steadfast and unmoving that they could, have burns all over their face and be scarred for life, and their self-worth wouldn't be destroyed.
I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point, because I had eczema from head to toe growing up for years, for my first 17 years of life. My youngest daughter, exactly the same genes as me, with the asthma, allergies, eczema. And although it wasn't as severe as my case, I was hospitalized all my childhood for all of those. I always would tell her, because, it's really hard when you have, like you say, a skin problem or rashes, eczema, anything that's visible is really hard for kids. And with Zoe, she had it all the time. And her asthma, she wasn't able to go to gym and everything like that. And, it would really upset her because she stood out from other kids, right? And knowing her self-worth, not getting down on herself, I would always say to her, because she would say like, why am I like this? Why did God create me like this? And my answer still to this day, and what she even retorts back to me, and she's almost 20, is I always say, because God knew that you could handle it. All the time. That's always what I would say to her. And it has stuck with her even to this day. And I feel like that even goes with health, eating habits. You know, if there is a struggle, you know, people always ask themselves, why me? Like, even with us four, like, why do we go through the weight struggles that we do, the food struggles that we do? And although there really isn't an answer, maybe, you know, in your past or in your childhood or anything like that, I always just resort, you know, you're strong enough, and God created you that way because he knew that you are strong enough to overcome it, right? That's what I always resort to. But
So Lindsay, did you want to add anything onto that before I flip subjects for you?
I don't know that I've ever really put the value on my actual weight so much as I've put more value in the fact that I will bulldoze over top of any of those insecurities in a really aggressive kind of a way. Like, if you're gonna like notice something wrong about me, I'm gonna tell you it's wrong first, so you can't beat me to the punch, and I'm gonna tell you it doesn't bother me. There are some things that do, but lots of them don't. And so I don't know that I really have put a whole lot of value on the scale or on my clothing size, as much as like it's more, I tend to overvalue my ability to just like plow through stuff and bulldoze over top of other people. So I don't really know that I have anything valuable to add about placing value on the scale. And I know that so many people do struggle with that. And my heart goes out to people who do feel those things, because I know that that struggle has got to be as great as, or even greater than, anything that I personally can struggle with.
So you value your snark.
Not to put too fine a point on it, Amy.
But I love your confidence. And that, I think, is the underlying message to get across on that point, is confidence. Confidence can come no matter what your size is. Confidence can come no matter what your weight is. It's finding your inner self-worth and
I
knowing
was
that
just going to say,
yes,
a lot of people find self-worth through the value of a size or a weight.
but we're not that shallow.
Yeah.
Let's be real. We're so much more than just what we look like on the outside.
Absolutely.
And focusing on the inner character and finding our own beauty and our own self-confidence makes it much easier to deal with. Yep, I went up 2 pant sizes. Okay. But I can still do things. I still feel better. My mind is still much clearer than it ever used to be. My skin is clearer than it used to be. So focusing inwardly instead of outwardly, I think, becomes the goal.
Mm-hmm.
One big thing that I feel like I struggle with, because I'm not out trying to be a supermodel. Like, like I don't wear makeup. Like I don't care. I mean, I want to look good and I want people to think I look nice, but I don't really care about that aspect of it as much. But what gets me is I want people to think I have it all together and I have it under control, and that and so having fat on my body that shouldn't be there, it's like something out of my control. And so people look at you and think, oh, well, you are not self-disciplined, or, you know, if you really had it all together, you would be able to get yourself to exactly the weight that you want to be. And so I think that's my struggle more than just like wanting to look beautiful. It's like, no, I want people to respect me and think, oh, she has it all together and she has everything under control and nothing is gonna, you know, mess her up. And being able to let go of that was a really huge step. And not that I have completely let go of that, because it's an ongoing struggle, but when I realized how my body was fighting back against me when I was pushing it, to have that control over it, I had to let go and be like, body, you got this. I'm going to try to work with you on this. We're going to, nudge and try to make little changes to work together instead of me trying to just dominate and say, body, you're going to do what I tell you to do. Letting go of that control was a really big step in my being able to just accept that I don't have control. Like you have to, and I think having kids probably helps with that too, is like, you just have to accept that I don't have complete control over the situation as much as I want it. And as hard as I try, and even the harder I try, the less control I have. And so like that's been a huge freeing thing and a big step for me, I think, in my acceptance of my body, where it is, just letting go of that control.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, what were you going to say?
Well, that conversation spurns on a whole host of ideas and thoughts.
Okay.
So I don't remember what I was going to say.
Okay, then I'm gonna take it to the next topic then.
Okay.
So something else that Janet said, we're working so hard. Like we should have all of our results. Neely shouldn't be dealing with low iron and low ferritin. She shouldn't have to do this. She's doing everything right. Janet and I should not be struggling with what size we're wearing and the extra weight that we're regaining because we're doing everything so right. And at what point in time do you give up that struggle? Where is that fulcrum where you have to find the balance between pushing too hard for perfection and accepting what is and living your best life in that moment?
Okay, that's a great question. I don't know if I have the answer to that. I'll be honest, but that's a great question.
Wait, did you say you have the answer?
No, I do not have no answers for that. But
that's why I give it to Lindsay.
Okay, so first of all, let me applaud you in using the word fulcrum for math words and physics words integrated into daily conversation. So that was fantastic. So finding what you're asking of me is figuring out how to balance what you guys are stating you see yourselves as versus what I see myself as, which is the free-for-all, couldn't care less what people think, and I just want to go with the wind and just have a great old time. I do care to a certain degree, but I care tremendously about developing more skills. I care tremendously about the actual health marker numbers. And if I have a few extra pounds on my body because of that, or a bit of inflammation because I'm still trying to figure out where the actual line is between just enough pecans to satiate my desire versus so many that I become a glutton, that's, that's kind of, I tend to live in the world of fun a whole lot more than the world of restriction. And so you're asking me to step closer towards you. And I don't know how to do that. Because I mean, and I know there are things that I do care, what people see to a certain degree, but it has more to do with what can Lindsay do versus what does Lindsay look like. And I tend to point things out on myself, on my channel, not because I know somebody else will notice it too. And I'd be like, yeah, well, this is what it is. Okay, be blessed. And it's one of those, I guess it's actually more of a self-defense mechanism more than anything to try to prevent anybody from thinking they can get to me. I should probably stop doing that. So I don't have an answer to this question of going from, which is why I need Janet to text me the answer fast.
I don't know
how do you go from, how do you go from
with me it's more my own thoughts. It's not necessarily what, of course, other people's opinion affect me, just like I'm sure it does all the rest of us on this earth. But I think with me, it's just more of a personal struggle with either weight gain, weight loss, body size, everything, body image, self-doubt, all of those things are my own doings. You know, you kind of, I create all of these things in my head of what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, what I should be doing, what I should be wearing. Like, should I wear this? You know, it's not necessarily other people saying things towards me that I'm absorbing and self-doubting. It's my own thoughts. And I, you know, you can't get out of your own head. That's the whole problem. As much as people will tell you, your husband, your kids, you look great, you look wonderful, friends acknowledging your weight loss, your skin. Sometimes it's just your self-doubt. Yes, you take in the compliment, but also in your mind, you're thinking, you know, God, how bad was my skin, you know, a month ago, or whatever goes through your head, not necessarily saying it out loud, but that's my struggle. And I don't know how to overcome that necessarily in my own head and in my own mental awareness. Right.
Exactly. What about you, Neely?
So the original question was finding a balance between what were you finding a balance between?
So between getting all the results that we must get at any cost versus still living our life and enjoying it. Where's that fulcrum?
Yeah. So I've been dealing with that a lot recently because, you know, 2 months ago, I felt like my health was in a really good place. And like that, and I talked about this on my Wellness Wednesdays a lot, how I don't feel like I have to be super, super strict. I want to be able to enter in at family gatherings and social things and with my kids. And so I choose to be a little bit more loose with my food choices. And then now I find out I have all these nutrient deficiencies, or, you know, struggling with nutrient absorption, the iron thing, and possibly gut health being involved in, you know, not being able to absorb things well. And so it's like putting me in a completely different place. And so I struggle with that because especially on my channel, when I'm talking to people, I want to have consistency. Like there are some YouTubers out there that share their journey, and it's just like they go from one extreme to the other, like every single video. And I'm like, I, you know, everyone's on their own journey, but I'm like, I want to at least have some consistency, but my circumstances have changed. Like I shouldn't have consistency if my circumstances have changed. I should change in relation to those circumstances. So now I'm like thinking, do I need to go all the way carnivore? You know, do I need to do like this elemental diet if I have SIBO? Like these really super strict, like you can't cheat. You can't take one bite of something that is gonna set your gut off, or you're not gonna heal. And you might even need to take antibiotics. And like, so I'm like in this place of like letting go of the fun times and like letting go of the idea that I can have those indulgences that I was so used to, and accepting like this more restrictive diet. But I'm not doing it based on like an idea that I'm finding the perfect diet. Like I feel like a lot of people, and I've done this before, where it's like, no, I just need to find the perfect diet and I need to eat only that and never eat anything off of that forever. It's all about the perfect diet. But what I'm doing now is I'm looking at my body and the state that it's in and what it needs in order to thrive. And because I'm looking at that, it has changed. You know, before I was thinking, well, I can have, it doesn't really affect me when I have a little bit of this or that at a Christmas dinner. Now it's like, well, maybe it would. Maybe if I do choose to go down this road of, you know, healing my gut or whatever it is, I'm going to have to make some really hard decisions. And so somebody on the outside could look at that and say, well, she's just, you know, she just said one thing and now she's doing another. And you're like, I can understand why you think that. And I respect that. But in reality, the circumstances changed. And so I guess my self-worth has to be not based on being consistent even, you know, in my diet choices. My self-worth is outside of that. And so when I choose to make a decision based on the change in circumstances or becoming aware of something that I wasn't aware of, it's like I don't have to put so much weight on the people that might be criticizing me because of that. I can just say, this is how it is. And if you criticize me, that's great, because my self-worth is not based on you thinking that I'm consistent.
Yeah.
Very, very true. And that's my answer to that question is,
Wait
where
a minute. You have the right answer the
I
whole
do.
time, Amy.
I do.
Dang it.
I was not asking the proctor for the answer. That's
Sorry.
a faux pas.
I figured I would let you know the answer.
Please do.
It's the
Yes.
exact same answer I give 80% of the time in my coaching group.
It depends.
It depends.
Got it.
If
Gosh, Amy, you're so helpful.
I know, aren't I? I'm gonna get a shirt that says it depends. Turtle power. It depends. If you are where Neely was and nothing is wrong and everything is working, then yeah, you can be further on the relaxed side. You can enjoy, you can have some indulgences. And then you go with whatever's going to happen. Or you might be on my side. I've got Lyme disease. I've got several autoimmune conditions. I've got who knows what else, honestly. I would be foolish to be on the side of indulgences because of how much pain it brings me. I mean, I can't stand up some days if I do something improperly. I can't turn my head left and right because my neck seizes up if I indulge too far one way or the other. So people who are trying to emulate us, you have to be very careful because you're not me.
Mhm.
You may be way worse than me. And like Neely, you may not even know it. And giving yourself grace for where you are with the knowledge that you have. We don't know everything. And I truly believe at this point in time, most people are way sicker than they realize that they are. But if you're doing okay where you are and you're enjoying it, then don't worry about it. And for some people, they're able to do exactly what they want and get the results that they want, even though they had a bunch of underlying conditions. They healed it in their own way and it worked. And so for the rest of us, me personally, I'm like, if I could just eat meat, if I could just eat some burger patties every single day and heal everything that I have wrong with me, my life would be fantastic. But that's not what I got. And like Janet said, it's because I can handle it. I can handle not getting the immediate results, and it makes me dig deeper and look a little bit further. And then I can share it with other people. But more than anything, I think it's the mindset. You have to get to an understanding of yourself to know where that tipping point, that balance is between your indulgences. Dude, I had queso yesterday with a lot of cheese on top of the queso. I had and it had heavy whipping cream in it too. I actually did fantastic. I didn't gain any weight this morning. I am in no pain today. And then I have to make that choice. You know, there's some things I can do. I cannot even smell Rebel ice cream anymore without pain all over my body. So figuring out how to find the perfect balance between the two. I don't think we should be too far one way or the other, because extremes don't really ever serve anyone. I love you. Except for you. You are our extreme and we love you. And you're such a perfect fit.
Listen,
I think it's trial and error, honestly. And it's just trial and error, what works for you, right? And that's the hard thing to get across on our channels, to try to explain that, because they just want to do what you're doing. And, it's like, I don't even know if this is working for me,
I buy the seat of my pants. I go to all the extremes.
Buck the trend.
There is no rhyme or reason to what I do.
Mm.
I am no role model to anyone.
See, and sometimes it's like a different purpose. For me, it's like, it's a weight loss and how I feel sort of thing, like walking up the stairs, walking my dogs, making sure my asthma is under control with weight loss and things of that nature. Yes, I've gotten off of high blood pressure pills, but however, like for Amy and Neely, that's a whole different world, right? You know, so everybody is different in what their goal is as far as weight loss or health, you know, or it can be both as well too, right? But I think it's different for everybody because like you said, Amy, you could have underlying issues that you just don't know about. And, you know, you're causing yourself, by dairy example or something like that, you're causing more grief for yourself than good, but you just don't know it.
And one big lesson that I've been learning recently is how diet doesn't fix everything.
No.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, for years I've tweaked my diet and tried this and tried that. And like, obviously I got huge benefit from doing that. And I've learned a ton and I wouldn't trade that for the world, but it didn't fix my underlying, whatever it is that's causing me to not absorb iron. It could be genetic, could be some gut thing, could be parasite, could be all kinds of things. So it's like, how far do you go with perfection in your diet before you go down some other paths to see? And the frustrating thing is there's infinite number of paths you could go down in order to help build your health. And so like trying to weed through all that and decide I can't do everything. I just can't. And so trying to decide like the priority list of we're going to try this and we're going to try this and then we're never going to get to perfect. Like that's not even possible in this life. And so it's like, then you have to decide where the balance is of health, like how far are you willing to go and to what extremes are you willing to go in order to get to what level of health is important for you.
That's
like
exactly it.
If I have to go, 100% carnivore and fast 3 days a week in order to reach as close to perfection as possible, I'm like, well, that sucks. I don't want to do that. And so like, would I accept just slightly less of perfect health in order to be able to eat every day, or whatever it is, like what, and no one can make that decision. And I've talked about this a lot of times, and I hope that this has been clear in my previous videos. I've talked about this since I started Wellness Wednesdays again, how you have to decide your own balance. What you indulge in when you're thinking about an indulgence, how it's going to make your health and how it's going to make you feel versus the social enjoyment and the physical enjoyment of actually just eating the food. Like you have to balance that, and it's going to be different for everyone depending on their state of health. It's like for somebody that has celiac disease, they're not going to take one bite of bread for the enjoyment of it because it's not worth it. They're going to feel like garbage. And everyone has their own foods that detract from their health, and their own, what's important to them as far as socially. Like if it's really important to you for me, maybe it's like eating some truffles that I make with the family, make with the kids at Christmas time. Like we've been doing that for years and that is our tradition. And so to eat one, that's important to me. And whereas to somebody else, maybe that's not even a big deal, So it's always a balance. It's never the same for everyone. And you have to kind of be honest with yourself to decide what is good for you and what is not. And for some, maybe that's 100% carnivore and fasting 3 days a week. That's great. If that's where your balance leads you, do it. Awesome. Yeah.
Exactly. Honestly, I don't know that we could follow that up with anything else because that is the answer.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Honestly, it's about choices.
Yeah.
Too.
I don't know, if the world's gonna burn, I'm gonna go down in fun.
No, seriously, that's where the balance shifts.
We know exactly where Lindsay's tipping point is. And that is really truly the answer. This is why we can't give you macros. We can't give you a meal plan. We can't give you the perfect formula because it doesn't exist. It
Mhm.
plain and simple does not exist, because I too truly believe that food is not the end all be all. It is not the ultimate answer, because I do not think that food was the only thing to hurt us. So it can't be the only thing to fix us.
Mhm.
Medications, diseases, illnesses, genetics, environment, they all play a huge part in our health and in our well-being. And you could do the exact same thing for the four of us. We could all do the exact same thing, and I guarantee you we would not respond the same.
Yeah.
Some would get better, some would stay the same, and some would probably get worse. And understanding and accepting that. And this is why we give you such a huge, broad spectrum of options, and why, I did the egg bread for such a long time, and I stopped because I'm like, I can't take it any further. I can't even eat it, because it really does hurt me when I eat it. It causes my digestive upset and all these other problems, but you've still got Neely doing it. So whatever you need, finding the person that you need to watch until it
Mhm.
stops working, and then you have to shift and you have to find someone else. That's why there's so many voices, so many different opinions, because there's so many different problems and so many different people that need help finding the answers to those problems. So closing comments, anybody, as we wrap this up? Lindsay, got anything you want to end with?
Why me first?
Because
Why?
I love you the most.
But I can't make good jokes till I have more information to work on.
Okay, Janet, your turn.
I think you're 100% right in saying that everybody needs to find what works for them. And when you were saying that you've quit the egg white bread, Neely still does it, I still do it. But thinking of all four of us, we have all changed things up to a certain extent. Like all four of us have not stayed the same since day one that we started keto or carnivore or whatever you started day one with. We all four have changed, and that just goes to show that even if you follow one person and what they're doing, clean total carbs, that person will probably change to something different because it's not working for them anymore.
Mhm.
So that's kind of you hit it right on the nail there, Amy, with saying that, because it's sometimes you just need a change. And like I said, all four of us have done a change in our diet, depending on our health, our weight loss, and everything else. So watch all of us.
Well, I think that change is actually really, really important.
Yeah.
Like the idea that you would find one diet and just eat that exact same way for the rest of your life. I don't think that's the way seasons work and like the way our body works well. So I think it's kind of funny when in the community, everyone's super high fat and, moderate protein. And then the PSMF comes along and people jump on that and like, oh my gosh, I'm having such incredible results. It may not be that PSMF is better than the high fat, moderate protein. It may just be that your body needed something different and needed a different stimulus. And so then people do that for a while.
Yeah.
And then, the high fat comes back and everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. And it's like, well, let's not demonize the other
Yes.
approaches. Let's just recognize that our bodies are built to, be in flux and change.
Yeah.
And like just like with seasons, it's like there's going to be some times where we're only eating seal blubber, And then there might be like summertime where you're eating more blackberries because they're covering your entire property. And
That's true, though.
so
Yeah.
it's the idea that we have to like just have one winner. It's just like, well, the winner is change. The
Yeah.
winner is adapting and moving and trying different things. And that's what I want to communicate to the people. And so I love watching so many different people. Like I never have wanted to be a guru that says, this is my plan. Are you following the Neely plan? You know, it's like, are you on the Neely plan or off the Neely plan? And it's like, I never, like, I go out of my way to try to not put that image out there, or, you know, try to encourage people to follow what I do. But I get huge benefit from following tons of different people. And I don't follow any of them in order to completely emulate what they're doing, but I get little nuggets from here and there. I follow vegans. Like, I don't agree with 95% of what they do or say, and I know that it wouldn't work for me, but maybe there's something about their mindset or something about their recipes. Like there's so much that we can get if we just, you know, take what is useful from these people, and, you know, leave what's not. And it's like, that shouldn't be so hard. Like, let's just build our own diet and take what we can from the people around us and leave what we can. And we don't have to, like, this person is good and this person is bad.
Yeah.
There's something to be gained from everybody.
There is no diet that is the end all be all. There is no diet that is the holy grail ever. It doesn't exist. Right, Lindsay?
Right. I mean, I live for change. Hence the reason, I mean, even since starting my channel, I've lived in 4 different like places and different states. And even before that, we love change. We are changers. And if I was still following the same quest for health, like if I was still at that same junction trying to eat this specific way, I would still be consuming copious amounts of fermented cod liver oil and butter oil.
Oh my
and
God.
Following a nourishing traditions way of eating, because that in my brain was the end all be all. I would still be making ginger bug to make my own homemade sodas with my own turbinado sugar and all of like those things. I would still be grinding wheat. I would still be doing things that caused my skin to scream at me and just like have all the breakouts all the time. But now I found something that's working in this moment. And at some point in the not too distant future, I anticipate menopause. And at that point, I know I'm going to have to modify. And as the environment changes, as my body changes, I've always been kind of like a very intense person, which I know comes as a shock to every single person watching. But I'm also really go with the flow. I just happen to be very intense with the flow. So if there's something changing, I'm like, let's do it all and let's go whole hog until there's a little shift in the river, and then it's like, oh, something new. And anything is exciting. I follow a gazillion, well, maybe not a gazillion, that could be hyperbolic. The jury's still out. But I follow tons of different ways of eating. I love to listen to people on Weight Watchers sit there and discuss what they're trying to change in their own mindsets. Like Neely said, the mindset thing is big, but also just seeing what are people eating? What is the vegan look like? What does this look like? And then I feel like I can at least participate in conversations when somebody tells me, hey, I've got celiacs, so it's kind of a big deal. Cool, I understand enough about that to be able to support them in their health journey. Or I've got a friend whose kids, they struggle with all the food dyes and all the preservatives. So I can be a better friend when I make something and take it to their house. It's like just following one thing doesn't make me able to build relationship with others. And relationship, you've got to relate to that person. And I can't do that if I'm stuck in my dogmatic ways.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Agreed.
you said it just a second ago, supporting others in their own choices.
Mm-hmm.
I never want to get to the point where I'm like, you know, Neely, you have that problem. You really should do X, Y, Z because it'll fix it for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to become that person that says everyone should do what I think. Because believe it or not, I really don't know everything. Imagine that. I know. Mind blown. Tiny little mind blown. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you, ladies, for hanging out with me. and for being honest and open and understanding and supportive of no matter what we are doing, we love one another and we want to see the best for each person in their own way, in their own time, in their own everything. So thank you so much, ladies. And thank you everyone for joining us. We do love each and every one of you. Go check out all of the channels. If you do not know other people, all the links are going to be down below. And we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Got it.
Do not consent.
Do not consent. We got to see Lindsay being difficult.
I couldn't hardly see anything out there all of a sudden. And I got like all of my cups and I'm like, I don't want to film in my normal spot because that room, it's like the ventilation is struggling. Hello, welcome to my wall. There it is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Because we know
You're
they
going to be
know-
learning how to like give yourself an IV or something.
I might have to. I mean, we do
I
live
wanna
that
learn how
far
to
out.
do that.
You can come over and practice on me.
Oh dear.
That's
I'm
funny.
all
They
in.
have to actually learn that, like, because Jimmy was in the military and they have to learn how to do that, actually.
Yeah.
Not even like, obviously a medic in the military, but even, you know, everybody needs to know how to give an IV and everything like that. Jimmy's like, I could save your life. I'm like, I don't
Thank
trust him.
Oh.
Let's hope we never have to do that.
No.
And Lindsay was like, wait. I know what we'll talk about.
That's a good Lindsay impression.
I'm
Wait.
interested.
Listen, if you
Go
don't
ahead.
get the eyebrows all the way to the hairline, you're not doing it right.
I'm not, well, my hairline's taller than yours is, okay?
I only have a 4 head
Yeah.
or a 3 head.
Yeah,
You
I've
have
got
a
the
4 head or a
forehead.
5 head.
Yeah, I've got the forehead.
I was
You've
gonna
got the 3 head.
Oh my gosh, I have 4? What?
You can't hear you, Amy.
Oh yeah, sorry, there was a child. Sorry, the child keeps coming in here.
We need to put her with my youngest in a spot
Yes.
and
I
let
would
them do their
integrate
thing.
that.
And put Bluey on and just call it a day and be like, don't move.
I don't even know that I would go that far. I think I would just plop them down in our playroom space and just say, here, all the toys. Look, the kitchenette is down here. You have access to running water.
Okay. And now for the thumbnail. What do we call
What do
them?
you need?
What did you need?
What do you need?
Just like me.
Like they've been sitting on the stairs and then they
Mhm.
start creeping and then trying to scooch around to see
Uh-huh.
what's happening.
Oh, wait.
Ma'am,